You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
Let me ask you something. No, come here. I'm serious. Get a little closer. Come here. Johnny, how do you like the taste of freedom? And welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 231. I am one of your hosts, video essayist and video producer at DualShockers from Portland, Oregon, Christian Macias, and I'm joined... Hold on, I rolled over my name too quickly. Christian Macias. And I'm joined over Discord by Kentucky's number one Spartan, PXN founder, Daniel Prindle, a.k.a. Dan is DTM.
Democracy.
Wow, one word. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm with you. Democracy. President of the T-Foot Lockhart Fan Club, Nintendo aficionado, and artist extraordinaire, Roro, will be joining us, hopefully, a little bit later. Message just saying he's running a little bit late, so we're going to wait for him to get some more sustained thoughts. Hopefully in the Nintendo stuff later. Spoilers for the rest of the show. However, rounding out the trio today, one half of the Men Engage podcast. I'm still going to run with it. Battlefield's Bad Boy, Tarkov Teletubby, my lover, Gage Dempster.
I like my freedom served up on a piping hot orbital strike called in way too close to the squad.
Show me your red rocket. It's not even... Anyway. Yeah, just straight to the point, I guess.
Right.
Folks, thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we're live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/@podcastpxn. Also, simultaneously, for those who enjoy other platforms, twitch.tv, live there as well. At the same time, every Wednesday. The topic of the show this week, guys, is Helldivers 2, a massive game that it's become, maybe an even bigger game for Sony. We've also got news on Xbox's business update, the Nintendo Direct stuff, Nintendo Switch Ultra, ? But we'll get there. First, the show always starts with a quick bites. Let's go ahead, take a little bite, take some bites, take a little nibbles, take a little nibble of No Rest for the Wicked. This is the game from the developers of Ori and the Blind Forest. They're making like an isometric kind of an action RPG. IGN has a preview of it, and their title of the preview is titled, ironically, that No Rest for the Wicked's combat is more Dark Souls than Diablo. So people who are looking for a more kind of real-time combat, something more crunchy, something a bit more challenging, No Rest for the Wicked might be up their alley. And granted, however, this is, I'm going to say, a little bit to be expected because Ori, both the original and the sequel, are difficult in their own regard. This is like with like platform. It's like, it's regarded as like a huge, awesome Metroidvania, but one that is also kind of challenging in its own right. So them taking kind of an attempt at something more Dark Souls inspired, but with, isometric, kind of cool.
I love this. I was already hooked when I thought it was just going to be a kind of Diablo competitor, but the fact that they're kind of taking a step back from the... Obviously, it's not a shooting game, but Diablo kind of has that looter-shooter, like, just deal insane amounts of damage to the enemies over and over and over again. The fact that this is going to be a little bit more involved... Again, I was already sold on this game, but they're saying all the right things. This sounds like it's going to be a unique spin on the Diablo kind of top-down ARPG format. I'm very excited for this. This sounds great.
Sorry, Dan, I want to make sure you go first before I go again.
I'm very excited as well from everything I've seen. However, with them saying Dark Souls, that makes me a little scared. So maybe Dark Souls light. Let's, hopefully that's not
right
too...
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think it's gonna go full tilt.
Let's be real. Like, hard sometimes when combat is a bit more involved or a bit more challenging. They'll look in stuff for Dark Souls for like SEO purposes or just kind of like journalistic comparisons. It's probably not to the same level as punishing. So I think maybe your like kind of worries can be quelled a little bit. I will say this though. Oh, go ahead, please.
Is this co-op? Can't remember.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Just a single player game? Okay, for some reason I thought it was co-op. Anyways, continue.
I'm gonna say this. Moon Studios. I'm not gonna call them underrated because they get their roses, but maybe a bit underrepresented when we're like having discussions about like studios who are doing things right.
Right.
2 back-to-back bangers, and now they like pivot entirely and are making a game that is now previewing awesomely.
Right.
We should put more respect on Moon Studios' name.
Absolutely.
Apparently we're wrong, Christian. Share your
it's
world.
Go.
Share your world in progress with up to 3 friends by your side in the campaign's online co-op
That's
mode.
what I thought. That's why I was pumped for this. So
Yeah.
this is another one.
Yeah, there's 3 of us
Is
right
gaming-
here, right now.
I'm gonna pull a Christian.
So
Is gaming back?
Dude, it's not only back, it's better than ever.
dude, that moment me and Gage had last week where
Yeah.
I was reenacting your voicemail. I thought that was incredible.
It's pretty
You want to be a pirate? Be a pirate. Play Skull and Bones. More on that later. Moving on, Respawn is making a first-person Mandalorian game, and to that I have to say, why, dude? I'm 100% real. Why? Don't get me wrong. I'm sure Respawn's talent will make for a good game, for maybe even a great game. The Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order games are received very well, and I enjoyed the first one. I am very sad at Respawn now seemingly very quickly becoming the studio that's just turning out Star Wars titles. I want
Right.
something else from them.
Right. It's similar to my complaints about like when the Insomniac leak happened. We were talking about the ethics of discussing leaks, and I was like, well, do people deserve to know that Insomniac is just a Marvel studio now? And unfortunately, it seems like Respawn is similar boat where it's like, okay, well, now they're just the Star Wars studio, which is unfortunate because they came from, I mean, their foundations is original IP. Titanfall was a brand new IP and it fucking rocked, and it kind of sucks to see. Obviously, they're still doing Apex Legends, and who knows what the future holds, but when these wheels start turning and they start building momentum like this, similar to Insomniac, I feel like this is going to turn into, well, we're doing so many Star Wars things, we're just going to keep doing Star Wars things, and yeah, that sucks for me personally. And then also, I'm just a little bummed because Tom Henderson kind of tweeted out that they were making a first-person Star Wars game that people have been wanting for a long time. I didn't know people wanted a Mandalorian game. My brain immediately went to Republic Commando, which would have been awesome. I still would have echoed Christian's concerns about the Star Wars stuff, but it's kind of a double whammy for me personally because I was really hoping for Republic Commando. I guess people have wanted a Mandalorian game for years. I didn't know that was a thing, but sure.
I mean, the thing about that though, Gage, is that like at least if they're doing that, it's something that is
Established.
No, it's how should I put this? Something that is kind of outside the expectation or like current zeitgeist. Like doing a
Right.
Mandalorian game just feels a bit like cashing in, considering there's a whole Mandalorian series on Disney Plus and then a Mandalorian movie coming. It's like, okay, well, it feels like they're just kind of more banking on current trends more than anything.
And who's to say that that's even coming from Respawn? That could be coming from EA saying, we need you guys to make a
Fair.
Mandalorian game because of the exact reasons what you just said, Christian, of
sure.
the zeitgeist of Mandalorian being relevant right now. So who's to say they may not even want necessarily to do it, but
Right.
There's a silver lining to the news though, in that the Mandalorian game is reportedly more than just first person. It's reportedly like a high octane action game that is reminiscent of kind of like a Titanfall kind of campaign. It is also a linear, not an open world game, and you're going to supposedly be reliant on getting successive kills to regenerate health, and you use things like wrist rockets, grapple hooks, and a visor for tagging enemies and bounties during games. So the actual core of the game could be actually turn out awesome, even despite kind of our worries about the studio at large.
Right. So it seems like people like myself included will be excited that this is a fast-paced classic Respawn game and less to do with the fact that it's just another Star Wars property.
Titanfall 3, Mandalorian. Just kidding.
I just wanted you to sit for that for like a second longer. All right, let's move on to the next quick bite. Crazy Taxi, the reboot that's been working, that Sega Sapporo has been working on, is reportedly a triple A game. Sega Sapporo has worked on some stuff, some of the, like mostly the mobile side. They made Phantasy Star Online 2, New Genesis, and also a Hatsune Miku game, which I didn't know about. And reportedly, this is like more Street Meat LM, but since we're talking about it here, reportedly the game is going to be a battle royale, which I don't know, man. That's I don't know. Like in 2024, a Crazy Taxi AAA battle royale game is just is a lot. I don't like to throw the phrase "not on my bingo card," but I can't imagine anyone. Yeah, this is yeah who had this on their bingo card.
Well, and also talking about like doing things just for the zeitgeist. I mean, a Crazy Taxi reboot and it's a battle royale. Like, I don't know why. Is that really what the team thought? Like, we were passionate about? Like, oh, this storied game that we have that goes back decades. Let's bring it back as a battle royale. I don't know. It seems a little sus.
How does that even work?
Exactly.
Like, what's the mechanics behind that?
I mean, it's such an off, like, totally out of left field thing that maybe they have some sort of fun gameplay loop. I'll wait to see it, but I like, it's setting off alarm bells for sure already.
Sega's funny, dude. Sega's funny.
They're wild over there.
Fortnite news. Lady Gaga is coming to Fortnite. Lady Gaga on Twitter quote tweeted a super old tweet that she was like, "What is Fortnite?" But the real spelling of Fortnite, that means 14 days, aka 2 weeks. And she quoted it with like a tease that she's coming to Fortnite Festival. So supposedly, I think at the end of the current chapter of this season, the weekend will, the weekend's time is over. It's now Gaga's time to reign in Fortnite. And apparently my girlfriend's super excited to buy the skin.
Lady Gaga.
That's that's the thing that's happening.
Lady. Moving on. Sony's president, not Jim Ryan, different dude, Hiroki Totoki, wants Bungie to assume responsibility for missing timelines, which Dan made a comment on Twitter, like, hey, maybe Sony should have done a bit more research to Bungie's past. Yeah. Anyway, I won't get into that, but the core of this quick bite is that Sony could assume ownership over Bungie. It's not ownership, but what am I looking for?
They would basically
management.
Yes.
Yeah. If Bungie continues to kind of meet the deadlines that they've kind of imposed, and these sorts of deadlines are, I think, for things like profit. So I should have written this down.
Which it's kind of hilarious that they made this deal with Sony after they had a very similar deal with Activision. Now, granted, right, Activision didn't own them, but they had a very similar stipulation where if Destiny 2 didn't release by a certain time, Activision would basically take over all of the shares of Bungie and own Bungie, essentially. It sounds very similar to that, which it's like, I feel like that's just such a bad decision for your company because you're putting yourself in a really bad spot that you're being held down by this body that owns you, essentially, and being forced to whatever they demand, basically.
Right.
Here we go.
Sounds like this merger's off to a great start. sounds like Bungie has bungeed themselves again for the third time in a row. I don't know. Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, it was in a separate article. I found it. The internal deadlines that they were like needing to hit, I think by December or October of last year, was that they needed to hit like a certain projections for like for revenue, and they were 45% below their projections for the year. So there's a kind of some worry over there on obviously on both sides. And then they had the kind of the major cuts at the studio to help with that. And then it's looking like if that continues, Sony could step in and kind of take over their board.
not good. I mean, not good. It's kind of worrisome for the future of what Bungie even is left now as, because if Sony comes in and says you guys are you're too costly of a studio, they may make further cuts if they were to take ownership. So like, I don't know. I don't have a great answer, but I feel like it's not a good omen.
Right. I feel like I'm in the same wavelength as Dan right now. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak for you if I'm totally off, but like, I feel like I'm, again, as an entity, not as not talking about the individual devs that work there, but as an entity, I feel like I'm running out of empathy for Bungie because they keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's like your friend that keeps making these horrible financial decisions and is like, all right, well, I can only feel bad for you so many times before I'm like, why do you keep getting into bed with these giant corporations, setting unrealistic deadlines for yourselves, and then missing your targets, and now the studio's in trouble again, and it's like, okay, how many times are we gonna do this? Like, yeah. I don't know what Bungie needs to do, but I don't know. It's, yeah, I'm kind of running out of steam for trying to be in Bungie's corner, because I've been there a lot, man. And Dan and I go way back with Bungie. We both have, obviously the original Halo trilogy is very near and dear to both of our hearts, but it's just kind of like, this is not the same company, and they're making questionable decisions, and they have been for quite some time now.
Some bad leadership.
Yes.
Bad leadership isn't just at Bungie, though. Sometimes it's at Ubisoft. Skull and Bones is reviewed, has released some mixed reviews here. OpenCritic is sitting at a 61 average. Eurogamer gave it a 2 out of 5. IGN higher on the list here, 7 out of 10 on their respective scale. PC Gamer is at a 68 out of 100. And it seems like there are usually a lot of these reviews are on the lower end of good. The quadruple A era of gaming off to a rocky start. Not looking good for Ubisoft in that regard. Also, apparently, Skull and Bones, after the release, boosted player base numbers on Steam. So, that's I don't know, man. Like, they made a pirate game so bad, it made people want to play an older game from like almost 10 years ago, or I think that was actually 2014, maybe from 10 years ago.
2013, insane. I think, because it was the launch of the new generation of consoles. Yeah, insane. I wish I could have played this game 2 years ago and said that it was going to be bad. That would have been cool if I could have been able to do that.
Guys, yesterday we got some teases for the Borderlands movie. We got to look at Cate Blanchett as someone with red hair. I don't know these characters. I'm sorry. I tried playing a Borderlands game once, and I was like, "This is all right," and then never played it again.
Really?
The trailer released today. I couldn't find it on socials. On socials, they only posted the Square version. So on YouTube, I found the 4K. I linked that for you guys. Did anyone watch the Borderlands movie trailer, and do they have thoughts on it, and why?
I did, and I'm a big Borderlands game fan, so I was very interested to see how this trailer would pan out. And I think by watching this trailer, you could get I could see a couple of different takeaways from it. It could either be a very bad movie, like very bad, or it could be, all right, this is pretty good. But like, I don't think this movie is gonna blow anybody away. Personally, after watching this trailer, and personally, I think I'm more on the side of I think this movie is going to be very bad, which I hope that's not the case, because a lot of the people in it are really, pretty good castings. Like Jack Black as Claptrap, that's fantastic. Yeah, but
people were not high on Kevin Hart's casting as Roland, and in the marketing tweets, this feels a bit too stiff. Borderlands tweeted, "Meet Roland. He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died." An obvious joke at Madam Web, but
I like
for whatever reason in this context, I don't know. It comes across as too corporate and too stiff. Like, you guys, I don't know.
No, I like it. I don't like much about the Borderlands movie, but that's a fun little tweet. I liked it. That to me that fits in line with the Borderlands kind of humor.
And Kevin Hart does not fit Roland's character whatsoever. Anyone who's played
No.
Borderlands, it
No,
does
not
not
at
fit at all.
Somebody actually had I'm forgetting his name now, but the people were kind of doing fan castings of what should have been, and the actor that plays Luke Cage should have. That's totally
Mike Coulter.
Yes, that's absolutely the vibe of Roland, and not Kevin Hart. That is complete, total.
Yeah, I agree with
Opposite.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roland. I don't know why I did that. Last quick bite here. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Mike Coulter is forever just stained in my memory because of Agent Locke.
Stained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of Spartan Locke and Halo 5. Terrible.
They had to replace him. Apparently, I didn't know that.
His voice. They replaced his voice.
Yeah, they kept
Yeah.
his facial capture and all that
Yeah.
stuff, but they swapped out voice actors.
His voice was so bad.
Did he do something?
It was awful.
Oh.
His
He
voice.
phoned in a performance.
Yes, because he was in the Halo 2 anniversary. At the end, has like a epilogue or whatever to Halo 5, and Mike Coulter voices Agent Locke in that like 2-minute short, and everyone flipped out because it was so bad. And then they recast him for the actual game.
Oof.
Was it worse than like Peter Dinklage Destiny voice acting?
On par.
Same
Comparable?
vibe. Yeah, same vibe.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Speaking of vibes, people got hands-on with Princess Peach. Showtime. Feel out the vibes of that game. I don't know. I'm reaching here. That was a poor transition. Anyway, here we go. Here, I'll just say it plainly. Princess Peach Showtime was played by journalists in the industry. You happy? Previews are making the rounds as of today. Here's one from Game Informer that I shared for you guys if you're interested at all. If not, the gist of it is it's good. It's exciting to see Nintendo flourish with their IP and make cool stuff, creative stuff with it that normally you wouldn't expect. And that it's also kind of like a game targeted for like, how should I put this? More for like kids, for younger audiences. Of course, it's going to be a game that's rated E for everyone, but it's targeted more for like younger players than it is for, Mario Wonder is kind of more for like kids of all ages or, kids at heart like us. There you have it.
There we have it.
Princess Peach Showtime coming out next month.
Your game, right? On
That
Fantasy?
you has it on Fantasy League?
I do have it.
Right.
Also, my apologize. We're heading into Street Meets, the rumor section of the show. I had copied the Respawn stuff into there because it should have been a Street Meet item, but I forgot to delete it from Quick Bites. So, oops.
Just a
Anyway,
silly
so
little guy.
Yeah, sorry. 2 more items here in Street Meet. Jeff Grubb has corroborated reports that a PlayStation 5 Pro is coming in 2024. His words, probably September. Ryan McCaffrey, I think, quote tweeted some kind of PS5 Pro tweet. I think I forget who he was quote tweeting, but he essentially said, if it's true, and Xboxes is coming at some point later. We don't know at this point. Like they've both have claimed that either one is going to be more powerful than the either competitors. I kind of am if I'm a betting man, maybe I'd probably guess the next Xbox will be probably the beefiest one on the market. However, if that is coming later, Ryan McCaffrey said, if the PS5 Pro is coming this year and GTA 6 comes out soon after, he will be buying the PS5 Pro just to play this third-party game because it will run the best and it will look the best. And what better way to play one of the biggest games of the generation, maybe ever, than on the console that will run it the best. And Gage said, if this is true, I might do the same. I want more sustained thoughts from Gage on this. You would go in on a PS5, huh? A PS5 Pro.
Listen, okay, I'm not gonna lie. All right, I fell exactly where PlayStation wanted me to fall on that one a little bit. But the more I think about it, the more I am still on the fence. I don't know, because there's a couple of undeniable things, right? Where it's like GTA 6 is going to be one of the biggest games ever made. I think he was being generous when he said game of the decade or game of the generation, whatever he said, obviously meaning generation as in console generation. It's more than likely going to be one of the biggest games ever made ever, period. Like, that's just kind of how Rockstar works. So it's tough because it all comes down to what exactly is in the PlayStation 5 Pro and if any, what specific benefits does GTA 6 take from that? So he is kind of getting ahead of himself, as was I, because we don't know specifics yet. And some people were talking about rumors and where they think the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to land on power. I think right now, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Xbox Series X sits somewhere around the 12 teraflop mark, I think, because PlayStation 5 is around 10.5. I remember that from people bickering, arguing over their plastic boxes. So the rumor is that the PS5 Pro will be somewhere around the 14 teraflop mark, which is not a huge upgrade from 12, and we don't know where exactly. Teraflop is a very general kind of measurement of relative power. It doesn't really get into specifics, so there's a lot up in the air. But knowing how many hours I put into GTA 5, it's one of those things where the value proposition is different for me than it is for most people, because I know I'm going to put a shit ton of hours into GTA 6. Not even talking about online, just talking about me dicking around in single player, not only playing the main campaign. If there's multiple playthroughs that you can do, I'll do that. And then knowing myself, there'll be times where I boot up the game and just come up with my own stupid stories in my head, just dicking around. Oh, I'm gonna follow the traffic laws, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna
I love doing that shit.
I'm gonna pretend I'm an undercover police officer doing X, Y. Like, I'm gonna put so many hours in this game. So that's the only reason why I went into corpo mode and tried to sell you guys on upgrading your PlayStation 5s as well. In the PSN chat, I went a little off the rails, but yeah, I don't know. But then I also don't know, is this just excitement? Is this just excitement for a new GTA coming out, and now anything that could possibly enhance that experience is just kind of jumping onto that bandwagon? You know what I mean? It's more than likely that's what's happening.
I'm gonna jump in real quick, Dan, before you go. And this is coming from a guy who has no fucking idea what hardware like really does. Like 10.5, the jump from 10.5 to 14 teraflops. Who the fuck knows? I don't know what that really means. But
right,
what I'm saying is, it might be enough of an incremental jump to maybe get some first party games from Sony to run at the previously promised like 4K 60 mark.
Right.
I don't know if that's true, but
Yeah.
like that would be awesome. I think that'd be cool to see. It sucks that like the current generation of hardware kind of failed at that, largely just because games are hard to make. Duh. But my point is that I personally will not feel like I am missing out on anything by skipping a PS5 Pro.
Right.
And I'm kind of falling on the side of like, this generation still feels like there's way more of a race left to run. In fact, it feels like it's just getting started, or maybe even hasn't started yet. I feel like I haven't gotten enough out of my box for like, I don't know, as like a quote unquote PlayStation player. Like, what am I getting from the Sony side? Of course, gaming on this thing has been fun. Like, Helldivers 2. We're gonna talk about that later today. Playing third-party games with friends, that's fucking awesome. I love that the finals runs and looks so good. But in terms of like marquee titles for like experiences that I can only get as a PlayStation player, the last one that I can really think of that I needed to play was Returnal, and that happened years and years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm hesitant, but it's awesome to see that if there are like better ways to play some of these games, the people who do have that expendable income, why the fuck not? Sure.
Right.
I think, yeah, you guys both hit it on the nail on the head, but like also, I want to see what this PS5 Pro is before I make any crazy claims, like, because if we go as an indication with the PS4 Pro, what that was, the original PS4 was essentially a 1080p box, because it most games ran at 1080p on PS4. And then the PS4 Pro came around and it basically offered up higher resolutions, some up to 4K. They used a lot of checkerboarding and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was kind of just like that graphical increase as opposed to like a frame rate increase, because they didn't mess with clock speeds or anything like that. So if we go by that as an indicator, I think you're right, Christian. I think we're going to see a lot more native 4K 60 FPS games that we weren't able to get before because it didn't have quite enough horsepower to get the 4K output. So like we might get native 4K at 60 frames per second as opposed to like a checkerboarding at 60 frames per second on PS5. But, who knows? Maybe they have some insane tricks up their sleeves and got some more technical wizardry, because that SSD is still above the class there in terms of its performance. So,
and we've seen in multiple games that it's been able just their SSD architecture that they use and how it communicates, that there's some third-party games that ran better on PlayStation over Xbox Series X. I know Assassin's Creed Valhalla was one of the big ones going around just because it was so early after launch, but yeah, so there's so many variables in terms of what could cause better performance, right? So it's going to come down to specs. Yeah, for sure.
Keeping it a buck, I think SSDs just in general in the gaming space has been like the underrated like game changer this generation.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fucking awesome. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Last Street Meet item here. More remakes could be coming to PlayStation. Just remakes in general have been big. Of course, we're on the precipice of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out just next week. Some rumors here, though, that apparently God of War, the original title, is getting a remake, as well as a Twisted Metal remake, aiming to be revealed or released this year or in 2025. I don't know how much truth there is to this. This seems like one of the typical kind of those stories that run the gaming space. Blue checks on Twitter now farm that for engagement, and I don't know how much credit there is to is it real? I don't know, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it past it, because there was also, I think, rumors of the Uncharted remake that was rumored. One that even Dan, like 2 years ago, said like this would make the most sense for Sony to do. And it seems like they're actually probably doing that. It would make sense that a God of War reboot, I think, would come around, because that game is so old, and it seems like recent Sony Santa Monica God of War isn't slowing down anytime soon with the success of 2018's and now Ragnarok's title. So it would make sense for a God of War original to get its remake at some point. So who knows?
And talking about our zeitgeist from earlier, all of these things have TV properties that are going on right now as well, with God of War's Amazon series, I think, and Twisted Metal's Peacock series. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, if you think about higher level CEO kind of like, how we have everything going out, like if Sony Santa Monica is truly moving on to their sci-fi property, then like Dan said, they're going to want to keep the momentum of the God of War IP at least alive in the mainstream. Well, how do you do that? Well, you give another studio, somebody else that can take the framework of a game that already exists, and you re-release that, and then even though you're not getting a new entry into the God of War story, you still have something to talk about as you prep for your Amazon series or wherever it's landing. Amazon, Netflix, I can't remember. I think it's Amazon. But.
So you mean you can release more than just the mainline entries of a franchise, Gage, to keep people interested and engaged in a franchise?
You can, Daniel. Yes, you can.
That was
PlayStation. Before we move on, PlayStation remakes. Give me SOCOM, especially after Helldivers. Give me SOCOM, and give me. I had the name. I knew what I was gonna say, and then it just left right there at the end.
Ape Escape.
Not Ape Escape. Fuck Ape Escape. Not Crash Bandicoot. The other one. Sly Cooper. Give me Sly Cooper back. I want Sly Cooper.
Sly Cooper was back in the PS4 era. No one bought it. I was there though. I was there.
You're a real one.
Let's get into news of the week. 3 items, all massive in their own regard. And I'm kind of working up here. I put this one first because I think it's one that will have the least to say because the trailer itself was so small. Of course, I'm talking about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree finally getting its full reveal today with a trailer that premiered this morning at 7:30 Pacific. The YouTube went up at 7 a.m. Then there was a 30-minute baked-in countdown, which is very weird. I don't know why that happened and why studios keep doing that. If you're gonna say it's at a certain time, just make the video live at that time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why are we doing this? Anyway, sorry. And it looks fucking awesome. It looked fucking for all of us from software sickos. It was expectedly great. And then Eurogamer posted an interview with Miyazaki. It was about 17 minutes long, where we got way more details than what was expected. And I linked here the second bullet point here, Kami's thread. It's like a 3-tweet thread. A lot of stuff that I'm going to share here with you. It's From Software's largest expansion to date. These expansions that they do for all their games are usually really big in their own regard. The most financial ask from you buying the DLC is usually $20. This one is $40, which speaks to the kind of craft that they've been working on this DLC. And speaking of like the level of craft that they're doing, it's more. It's bigger than the size of Limgrave, which, if you know what Limgrave is, it's the like starting location of Elden Ring, and that area is so big that a lot of people thought Limgrave was the entire game. Here we go. More details. In the story of the DLC, you're guided by Mikola. You enter the Land of Shadow, a completely new world from the Lands Between. And you, of course, people were speculating this, but you do enter from the Blood Palace that you find in the side area from Moog. You find like this like giant egg with like this like weird cracked arm kind of moving around. You go inside the egg and go back in time, presumably. Yeah, and you can seamlessly travel back and forth between the Land of Shadows, vast maps, and the Lands Between. You'll meet others who follow Mikola's footsteps. There are new weapons, skills, and magic exclusive to the expansion. I think there's 8 new weapon types, too.
Which is crazy, because the amount of weapons that are already in the game, I saw that, and I thought I misread 8 new weapons, and there's like 8 new weapon types. I'm like, I don't know how you can think of more, but that's cool.
I think one of them is like hand-to-hand combat, based on what we've seen in the trailer for
there's
like
a cool
2
little
seconds.
spinning kick combo that they did, yeah.
The new storyline, of course, there's 10 plus bosses. One of those bosses is Miyazaki compared the difficulty of that fight to Millennia, which is probably the hardest boss fight in From Software. On Dungeons, he also mentioned like there's like more of a seamless transition between the world itself and Dungeons. I'm not sure what that means, so I'm sure we'll find out. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I skipped ahead. The structure is similar to the base game with vast fields, legacy dungeons, and smaller dungeons. And here you're talking about the transition there. There's a Famitsu interview as well. Huh. The development of the DLC started after the base game was released, so they've been cooking on this for 2 years. The DLC is not set in the distant past or future, but same timeline as the base game. Okay, I did not know that. Huh. No plans for future DLC after the Shadow of the Erdtree, but he won't rule out future Elden Ring content. But usually they'll cook on something new. Mesmer is the character in the key art on the same level as Godric, Millennia, etc. Which, okay, that he's fucking strong as fuck. And people are speculating he's like a fallen demigod, that he was erased from history. And I'll say this. I'll end with this. He also talked about Bloodborne. He's not sure if a remake will happen, but he finally addressed it, and he's like, it's very cool to see people this interested in a remake, and he hopes that at some point in the future, whether it's on this console or the next, that a Bloodborne remake could come to existence. Very cool of him to at least address it. Anyway, I'm excited. It comes out June 21st.
Do you know, did they say, I'm not asking this for my benefit or anything, but did they say if this expansion is able to be played standalone, or is it like just literally an addition to the game?
Considering you have to access this from inside, that's how. Okay. The thing about from software DLCs is sometimes like they won't tell you how to enter the DLC.
Oh,
Like you have to have fans figure out how to even access it. Like it's not like a thing on the menu. You have like in Bloodborne. Like here's the thing in Bloodborne. In Bloodborne, when you have the DLC, in the trailer was like a shot of like this giant creature. You have to, the way the game works is like you have to have beaten enough bosses to even see that the creature exists in that world. So you have to make it up to a certain point in the game. You have to go back to an early area if you've already beaten the game and go outside the church, see that giant creature there, walk up to it, get grabbed from it. You think you die, but that's how you start the DLC. You're transported to a different realm. A lot of weird shit like that.
Right.
So
In order
this
to
game,
start, in order to start the Erdtree, you need to go back in real life. You need to drive to the hospital in which you were born, find the operating room, kneel down at exactly 3:42 a.m. on a full moon, and then the game will unlock.
wait,
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
you have to plant the Erdtree, and then it
Yes.
sprouts.
You need to buy seeds too. Yeah.
so the way this one works is, like I mentioned, you have to go to the Moog's Blood Palace, which is a side quest activity. And from my time playing, I didn't even find that side quest area till like
I don't
around
think I did that one either. No.
60 hours in or so, and it's fucking badass. So okay, and you're not locked out of it because you can go do it. So you get the experience of doing that side quest, and it's fucking sick. And then at the end of it, you're rewarded with here's the fucking DLC.
Right. Which is cool. I mean, I'm teasing, but that's very cool that you could buy a DLC. There's no option in the menu to even let you know that you have it, and then you just go into the game, and then somewhere within the game, you kind of are able to start that extra content. It's very cool. I mean, it's again, we always talk about like clever game design and able to keep immersion in games, and this is a way that definitely works towards that. So maybe I have to beat Elden Ring.
You should before June 21st. All right. Stock Xbox. Last week, you guys had a good kind of. No, I'm sorry. Last week, you had a good discussion saying like tomorrow's news will probably not be as big. Like, I think it was Dan that was like, it's not going to be as like shattering as everyone is kind of expecting it to be, and of course it wasn't. We in a maybe like 40-minute podcast. I think it was something around there, maybe even shorter. Phil, Matt Booty, and Sarah Bond pretty much laid it all out and went into actually way more stuff than I even thought they'd go into. Kotaku has a rundown, but the gist of it is there are a total of 4 games coming to other platforms. 4 games total as of now. Any future stuff they'll look at in a case by case, but as of now, it's only the 4. We finally got to look at the full reveal because he didn't say which ones it was until recently. I think it was even today. We got the full reveal. 4 games coming over the next couple of months. I think Grounded is tomorrow. I think that's right. Maybe. Is that right?
No, Grounded is April 16th. Hi-Fi Rush is coming to PS5 tomorrow.
Thank you. There
and
you go.
Pentiment is tomorrow as well.
That's what it was. Yeah, Pentiment is tomorrow. Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah. And then Grounded is later. And then, of course, Sea of Thieves comes, I think, April as well.
April 30th.
I think, to the console. Yeah.
Yep.
April 30th. Yeah. So those are the 4. I'll stop there. Now that it's confirmed, because Dan, I think, had some speculation on Twitter I think he nailed all 4 of them. How you feeling?
Well, actually, Tom Warren's, he's the one who got the scoop a couple of days before their podcast, and he's like, yep, here's the games that are coming, and he got all 4 of them. So, and as me and Gage talked about last week, it makes a lot of sense for these games specifically because, Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment, and even Grounded to an extent are smaller projects, trying to get more eyeballs and more people invested in those games, especially Grounded, which is live service, and then Sea of Thieves, which is on its millionth season or whatever the hell they're at now, continues to add new content, and that game keeps killing it. So more players into that, I'm sure, will help that that ecosystem. So that'll be cool.
On the Activision front, Phil talked about saying it was Sarah Bond that talked about Diablo 4 coming to to Game Pass. That's like their first of bringing the Activision library to Game Pass. Very exciting. I think it's very exciting on Game Pass. I know it's probably taking a while because of just logistics of a company of that size. I mean, of course, it took a while to even let that merger go through. And here you go. Hold on, I have a separate article here. Call of Duty, in that regard, speaking of Activision, is hopefully coming to Game Pass as well. We don't know if the intention there is to bring the old titles only, or if it's old titles as well as new titles coming. I know there's some sort of deal with Sony right now, currently for Call of Duty, whatever that is. But I think I read somewhere that it ends this year. It expires this year.
No, last year, right?
No, with Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah,
so
that was the last game.
The deal
got
is
it,
now
got it.
over and fulfilled. Yes.
Okay. If that's the case, and if they don't re-up whatever deal they had, then it seems likely that Phil would want to get not just the backlog of Call of Duty games, but future Call of Duty games are day and date with Xbox Game Pass, which would be huge for that ecosystem.
Yeah, because I think we had a little discussion in our private chat about this, and whether like Phil was actually meaning Call of Duty new games are coming, but like from his direct quote here, it seemingly is saying like, yes, all Activision Blizzard games and ZeniMax, of course, will be day one on Game Pass, which is pretty clear to me that I think he's saying Call of Duty is coming day one to Game Pass, and maybe that's the shot in the arm Game Pass needs to get the growth numbers that it needs for Microsoft corporate overlords to be happy. But be interesting.
It'll be interesting because I mean, obviously, Call of Duty sells first. I think it sells best on PlayStation and then it's Steam. So, like, obviously, Xbox it sells the least there, but like still the least. Like, what does that like? It's still millions of copies, I'm sure. So, it's interesting to see them seemingly commit to day one on Game Pass because it's like whatever you're hoping to get out of this has to offset the hundreds of $1 million you would have made from those yearly releases. So it's interesting. I wouldn't expect it from them. I really thought they would do the sort of, okay, new Black Ops is out, Modern Warfare 3 is now on Game Pass. I thought that would have been like a surefire way to kind of keep it. But at the same time, you're right. This will increase Game Pass numbers for sure. I'm just curious if it's enough to offset the money that they would have made from just getting those sales. But obviously, people will still buy the game outright. I don't know why you would if it's a Call of Duty game. That seems like Call of Duty belonging on Game Pass is kind of like the perfect thing because it's it's got its very short life cycle. Then you're on to the next. But very curious to see how this is all going to work out. Yeah.
I'm curious if this will sway like PlayStation owners, for instance, to buy it on Xbox or buy an Xbox to
I
get
think that's
day
what
one.
their hope is.
Right. And like I always find it fascinating because my cousins are like super casual gamers. Like they play like COD and Apex and like just the biggest games only. And every family event I go to, I try to like listen into like what they're saying about that kind of stuff because I always get pretty much a good insight as to like what's gonna happen like for the overall market because they are like the casual like market opportunity. So yeah, very interested to see how that pans out.
Right.
I remember a while ago, Jim Ryan, in an interview somewhere, talked about how he fails to see how Xbox Game Pass is sustainable for Microsoft. There's validity to that, but
sure.
I think where I'm steering this comment on is when it comes to live service games, I fail to see like where like the loss would be for any party involved here because while a Call of Duty game costs a lot to develop, it will still sell well on PlayStation and Steam, even if it comes to Game Pass. If it comes to Game Pass, it will drive subscription numbers. Hopefully, people who are interested, more casual people, buying an Xbox to play the next Call of Duty game for free. And Activision makes enough money from microtransactions in these fucking games because they charge, $40, or I think they like the highest thing is like $30 for like a weapon skin. That they're making their money back tenfold, or not tenfold, but hand over fist.
Probably close for some games.
After the game is released, like this can only benefit all the parties involved, which again would be crazy.
Right.
And you know what? That's probably the same conversation that Activision had when they first started talking about releasing a battle royale for free to everyone. Because literally, you can download Warzone for free, and I'm sure they lost some. They probably lost some sales to people that just want to play Warzone and don't care about traditional multiplayer in COD anymore. But then you're right; they're gaining it back in all the microtransactions that they're selling.
Right. And also the long, how long these plans are laid out in terms of years, right? Where, like you're saying, Dan, they may have taken a hit up front, but now how many years it's been? What, 5 years since Modern Warfare 2019, and Warzone is now like the default battle royale, right? They went from being late to the party, like Warzone was not the first, even Blackout was not the first, right? You had things like PUBG, you had
Blackout, man. What a shout out.
What was that DayZ-like game? Hazard something? I don't know. But anyways, there's lots of battle royales before Warzone, but because of that decision to take that loss up front and give it to everyone, it's now just the default battle royale game that everyone talks about. It's a staple.
Bro, forgot about Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite I'd say is still bigger.
Fortnite, yes, but there was a game before that. I'm trying to this Hazard something weird. It was.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get what you're saying though. Yeah. And by the way, like I scroll online and once a week I'll see a video of someone posting about how much they miss the 2020 era of Warzone and how people are nostalgic for like that era of the battle royale. Like that for that moment, like Call of Duty had its grips on, including me, had its grips on like a lot of people. Yep. Like it was Warzone every night because it did feel fresh and different compared to the likes of Fortnite. Anyway, on the hardware side of things for Xbox, Phil Spencer quelmed worries that there'd be no future of Xbox by saying, no, we're definitely making more consoles. We're not abandoning people who have been buying into our ecosystem. In fact, we have more news coming on the hardware side later this holiday. And of course, they're working on the next generation of Xbox hardware that, will be revealed when it's time to reveal. But as more Xbox hardware boxes themselves are coming. And I think people who sold off all their stuff in the wake of the rumors, I think maybe acted a bit too soon on that front.
I can't even pretend to feel sorry for that. It's just funny. It's fucking idiots.
Tim Dog sold it all.
Yeah, Tim Dog is fallen.
He's feeling pretty silly right now. I have a question for you. If the rumors are true that Xbox is targeting not a Pro model, but just the next Xbox for 2026, do we start getting conversations and teases about their next hardware this year? Like when they say they're talking about the next hardware, you think they're doing a Pro model? I thought the rumors were pretty
I think
that they're not doing.
No, I think if anything, we'll get a refresh or something like that where it's maybe cheaper for them to build or something like that. Because there was that rumored version that was like the cylindrical shape and it was the same price as the current one. If we get anything this holiday, I would say that. Although I will say Tom Warren posted today that he had to update his article because the Xbox Wire removed mention of the console update this holiday, and they also had mentioned controller revisions for this holiday that they removed from their Xbox Wire post. So maybe they decided not to do that since now they've pretty much outlined plans to be talking about the next generation. Maybe they're not going to move forward with that refresh in the fall.
Interesting. If it's just a console refresh coming soon, I don't know, like going up against a PlayStation 5 Pro, that might be bad optics-wise. But,
right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'd love to hear about the next Xbox sooner rather than later, but
I would
Sure.
say there's no way in hell we see it before 2025 because you'd probably be butchering your own sales of Series X and S. Or maybe not, I don't know. But
I was gonna say, like, even if it's like a game, what was it, the Game Awards when they did the Series X trailer and it was
yeah,
just like a little hype trailer, they didn't really talk a whole lot about details, right? They just kind of said, "Hey, it's coming."
yeah.
The end note on Kotaku's article is an exciting one, especially for those who primarily are on in the Xbox ecosystem, and it's contrary to something that we'll talk about later from the PlayStation side. But for now, we'll end with this. Xbox is planning on releasing 10 games this year. This is from Xbox Studios. They're publishing 10 games. We know 2 of them: Hellblade 2 and Indiana Jones. Kotaku makes notes. Obviously, the 8 remaining titles aren't going to be huge, giant tentpole Halo or Gears of War games. I mean, new Gears could happen. I doubt it, but it is exciting to see that we know that Xbox Studios now publishes like a wide variety and different kinds of experiences on that platform, and ones that I think are really exciting. Of course, yes, some of those games are now coming to other platforms, but they're coming so that for the longevity of the ecosystem there, like Sea of Thieves, or for a chance to like players to play exciting games like Hi-Fi Rush. So it's cool to see that Xbox Studios will be planning on releasing more kind of, I'm guessing, smaller, exciting experiences published by them, which I think is good for healthy competition in that kind of smaller market. We need more of that.
Well, and it it benefits the developers and helps them out with people that want to create smaller teams to do these like passion projects. It puts it in front of more eyes to allow them to do that. Like that's because otherwise those little projects might not be profitable enough for Microsoft to warrant letting them continue doing stuff like that.
Right.
Guys, that's it on the Xbox side. Let's switch on over to Nintendo's side. Of course, they had a direct today, a partner direct. We're not going to start there though. You guys talked about rumors that the Switch Ultra was on the way. Unfortunately, from the time of last week to today, seemingly, according to Eurogamer and Bloomberg, they've corroborated reports that Nintendo has told publishers it's now releasing its next console in Q1 2025. Whatever the reason for their pushback, just in time. Just in freaking time. What do you say?
Oh, I said I heard somebody say Nintendo.
Yeah. For whatever reason, for their delay, seemingly they want something ready to go that's going to sell well and incentivize people to buy the next iteration of the console. Of course, we start immediately thinking to games like the next Metroid Prime, but also the next Mario Kart, which has also been in development for a really long time. So, if that's the case and those games need a little bit longer to cook, then of course you want to push that product a bit. The Nintendo Switch itself, the original, I think, released in February or March, and that sold astronomically well. So I think they're not as worried, if they miss the holiday rush and push it back into the first quarter of 2025. Like a roast setup, dude. This guy's fucking professional. That's crazy.
What?
I'm gonna full screen him.
Oh god.
The little Spider-Man too. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's crazy that it's 2025 now. Like fuck, the 2017 Switch is getting long in the tooth, but I'll be excited when it comes out.
Sure. And it's crazy to think that fucking old piece of machine ran Tears of the Kingdom the way it did.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Anyway. A partner direct happened earlier today. I missed it, but Game Informer has a great recap from today's show. A lot of exciting stuff, I think, that I'm looking forward to. Of course, we already talked about Grounded and Pentiment coming to other platforms. It is confirmed that those 2 titles are coming to Switch. Very exciting. We also have Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist. It's coming summer 2024. I have no idea what this is. Zero idea.
What is? I also don't know what this is. I unfortunately didn't get to watch it today either, but I know some of the games that are on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that one.
A Ranger, a role puzzling adventure, is also coming this summer. Set in an interconnected puzzle world, you'll navigate on a grid where everything moves when you move. You'll take down monsters, help townfolk, and of course, solve puzzles. Very cool. Unicorn Overlord is getting a demo today. People are very excited for this game, and yeah, you can now try it out. So go play the demo before its release on March 8th.
Definitely going to do that. I love Vanillaware games.
Monster Hunter Stories is confirmed to be coming summer 2024. It's a spin-off from a 2017 Nintendo 3DS title. Sorry. Yes. Hold on. What am I trying to say? The 2017 Nintendo 3DS RPG spin-off Monster Hunter is coming to Switch, as well as PS4 and Steam. In addition to HD visuals, this port includes new voiceovers, a museum mode, and additional content previously only available in Japan. Here's a fucking exciting one, man. Epic Mickey Rebrushed is coming 2024. When's the last time you thought about Epic Mickey? I haven't thought about Epic Mickey in a long time, but that game, like, rips.
One of the better Disney games. Definitely.
It's getting a little remaster, but it's called Rebrushed. That's cute. It's a cute name for it. Rebrushed.
Warren Spector, right? He made this game with forget his studio name at the time. Wasn't he the creator of Deus Ex? Or am I crazy? Maybe
Deus Ex.
This is a cool one.
I'm waiting for you to look it up.
Yes, I was correct. Deus Ex, original creator. Yep. Warren Spector.
Incredible. Here we go. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is coming June 21st, same day as Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. It's the definitive version of SMT5. Includes the base adventure along with the new storyline featuring new locations and demons. However, I think I saw somewhere that if you played the original SMT5 and want to transfer over your stuff from the original game to Vengeance, you can't. But you can transfer over 3 demons.
Oh, great.
And that's it.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
This seems I don't know, this seems weird, like kind of late to do this, but I could be wrong. I don't know what the space between Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal was, but I don't know, this seems like that sort of update. But I don't know, seems weird to me, but good for them.
Who would have thought? Who would have seen this coming? Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection is coming, not just to Switch, but other platforms as well. PS4, PS5, Xbox, Steam, PC, whatever. Coming March 14th, 64-player online battles, new features, new playable characters. I think and bonus maps. Jabba's Palace, Bespin, Cloud City, Yavin 4. Crazy. What an era of gaming. It's back. Play it online.
We're so fucking back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make at least Dan sit down and play some good old fashioned Battlefront 2. Pandemic, rest in peace. Pandemic is one of the goated B tier studios that's ever existed. I fucking love them. And EA, there's just a long list of crimes that EA has committed against the gaming
Mercenaries.
Mercenaries 2, World in Flames, love it.
Great. Yeah.
We love Star Wars Battlefront here. The classics.
I wonder if this is a way to measure intrigue for another Battlefront. Now with the kind of staggered failed launch of Battlefront 2, the way EA handled microtransactions in that game kind of almost kind of killing that game in a way. I
Right.
wonder if this is a way to be like, okay, if this game sells well, would this be kind of an indicator of people interested in a new Battlefront experience? Would be a way to do it.
Right.
What a fucking logo from Pandemic. I miss that.
I miss them so much. I miss them so much.
Panini. Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream is coming later this year. You can play with alone or with a friend in co-op. You'll tackle a distorted version of Sword Art Online, of course, the anime, manga. Kinky. That includes battling in 20-player raids against powerful enemies. I'm going to keep going because I doubt anyone has anything to say. Gundam Breaker 4 also coming later this year. If you're interested, if you're a Gunpla freak and want to build some mechs in a Gundam game, there you go. Dan, this is what I yelled, oh my god, when we were pre-show. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, June 25th. Sega has revealed a brand new Super Monkey Ball game featuring 200 fresh courses,
Jeez.
16-player multiplayer, and new moves for II and friends. I am, of course, very pumped. Super Monkey Ball hasn't really been good in a long time, since the GameCube era, I'd wager. But fuck, man, you put a new Super Monkey Ball in front of me, I'm even if I'm playing it for a day, I'm playing it, and it'll be the fucking greatest day I've lived in my entire goddamn life. Super Monkey Ball is so fucking good that doctors would play this game to refine their hand-eye coordination to prep for surgery. It's fucking awesome, dude. Cool game.
It's funny.
It's a real fact.
It's funny you say that it hasn't been good since GameCube because that's the last time I played Super Monkey Ball and I fucking loved it back then.
Oh, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
My Bedroom, aka World of Goo 2, is coming to May. It's a console exclusive coming May 23rd. Long-awaited sequel coming to Switch.
Goodness.
You should take pride in that one. That was a good one.
Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, is coming October 10th. I don't know anything about this. I'm sorry.
She stole our time by using the time to advertise this game.
It's finally happening. It's finally happening from Agro Studios. Another Crab's Treasure is coming April 25th. That is the Souls-like game where you play as a crab, which looks cute and quirky. Very fun.
My fantasy
Pen-
draft.
Oh yeah, nice. Penny's Big Breakaway, that's out today. It's a throwback 3D platformer from the makers of Sonic Mania. Play that now. Oh hey, wait. Oh shit. I saw this. I saw videos of this. This look cool. I'm gonna rush through these. Suika Game multiplayer mode is getting an expansion. Sorry, Suika Game is getting a multiplayer mode expansion. Pepper Grinder comes out March 28th. Demo out today. Cool. That's cool. Pocket Card Jockey Ride On is out on Switch today. Contra Operation Galaga coming out March 12th. There's a demo out now. more rare games coming to Switch. Donkey Kong, not one of them. Sorry. We all wish. And then Endless Ocean Luminous is coming May 2nd. There you have it.
Nice.
The partner direct. Oh, how the fuck did I forget? Fans have noticed that in this direct, it is the first time they've updated the motion graphics for the first time, which is every time they change the motion graphics, it's an indicator of a new console. Wii U had its own motion graphics for those directs. Switch, of course, has their own. It's the first time they've changed in years. So it's an indicator that, hey, maybe they have the stuff ready to go for the next Switch console. Oy vey. Okay, let's enter Fantasy Critic. Let's look at their league history. See if anyone got up to some nonsense here. And nope, no one did. It's been almost a whole month. No activity.
We're waiting to see where the chips fall. We gotta, like you said, 8 games coming from Xbox this year. We gotta wait and see.
That said, though, Penny's Big Breakaway, that's on Ro's list. That's out. So when reviews hit, Ro will get some points. Pacific Drive, also on Ro's list, and that is starting to get reviews now that the game is out tomorrow. So hopefully, I don't know if when the embargo is, but that is going to hit at some point tomorrow, Friday, over the weekend. Ro will be on the board again. I saw Skillb's video. He strongly recommended it.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is out next week. That is also on Ro's list. We have been sleeping on Ro, guys. He's coming.
I'd like
He
to
is
sleep
coming.
on Ro.
Oh, you
my
could sleep
God.
with Ro, you know. Oh my God.
Shit, okay.
Penny's Big Breakaway doesn't have an open critic page yet, though, which is so sad. So hopefully it gets reviewed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pacific Drive already has scores. It's 78 currently.
Yeah.
Currently. Still though, you're in a comfortable lead, man. You're at 38 points. The next one is me with 32, Dan with 25, and after all the shit talking, Gage still at 0.
It's not
What
shit
happened?
talking. Today, this is the year of the W, and it's coming. It's just coming
Except
a little.
you-
It's just delayed. We just
Yeah.
delayed it for quality reasons. Yeah.
You have the
Yeah.
cursed game though, Hollow Knight Silk Song, that
I
literally
know,
will
I just
never
did
come
it
out.
to take it away from Christian, and I realized I was thinking about this a couple days ago, and I know I made a mistake.
You have drops, but I wouldn't drop that game. I'd keep it until the
Yeah.
Until
till at
the
least
last minute.
December. Yeah. Also, sorry. Speaking of Fantasy Critic, Balatro out of fucking nowhere coming out and being the best reviewed game of the week. 94 on OpenCritic. This fucking game is a poker roguelite, and I heard it's like genuinely awesome.
Wow.
I've heard things too. It just came out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Damn.
Okay, before we get into our topic of the show, we're going to take a brief respite. Talk about. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. Did you have thoughts on Halo? I almost skipped that. Episode 3.
Gage, do we have thoughts
Sorry,
on
Dan?
episode 3?
The final 10 minutes of episode 3 of Halo season 2 is peak. It's peak. It's really good. I'm still not convinced. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of clumsy dialogue, and it still feels. I'm not gonna. You know what? Dan's having a good time with it. I'm not gonna say anything.
No, say it.
I'm having a much better time with season 2 than season 1. But as opposed to what I've always wanted, which is a prestige television Halo show, it still feels like it's a CW show that's just kind of been juiced up a little bit with production value. I don't know. It's still a little clumsy sometimes, still a little silly. But the last 10 minutes of episode 3, oh my god, that was a treat. That was a treat.
I don't think we talked about this last week, but Bear McCreary's intro music for the
Oh my
series
God.
is amazing. It literally made me tear up hearing it the first time. And I saw people tweeting about it that day before I saw it, but I was like, I purposely didn't watch it until I actually watched episode 1, and man, that was really good, really good. But to contrast you a little bit, Gage, I thought the writing and like the subplots in episode 3 were much better than episode 1 and 2 in terms of the writing, and that has me excited for the rest of the season. I thought the Ackerson storyline was really cool, and
Yes, it was.
he's a character taken from the books, which is super cool that they're expanding on him quite a bit. And yeah, it's, in my opinion, this next episode is looking like it's going to be the best episode of the entire series, and I am super stoked for tomorrow for it to drop because it looks good.
Yeah, that's true. I should give credit with the Ackerson stuff. They are actually, instead of completely disregarding the lore, which is what season 1 felt like, they're actually trying to kind of course correct and bringing in some things from the expanded universe, like the books, which is where some of the best Halo lore comes from. A lot of the more CIA military industrial complex type stuff is really cool. So that stuff is cool, and yeah, episode 4 is looking like it's gonna be real good.
What if I said I have thoughts on the Halo show?
Have you watched it?
Here's what I think.
Yeah.
Have you watched it, Christian? Have you watched it?
no, he
Yeah,
hasn't
thank
watched it.
you.
I just wanted to do a gag. Yeah, I just wanted the Discord gag. Sorry.
Jesus.
Excited for you guys though. Excited for you guys.
Oh, the Saboteur, Keurig. Thank you for Pandemic.
Saboteur, yeah.
What a game.
That's the thing that, real quick before I move on, the Pandemic was literally about to level up because the Saboteur compared to, what was the recent game before that? Mercenaries 2?
Yeah.
They were getting so close to AAA status. They were getting so close.
I also got sad because I saw that apparently they canceled Mercenaries 3. I didn't know that they were making
as a
one.
young lad, I
Yeah.
remember old school YouTube and the 5-star layout. I looked up one of those videos that was like the leaked footage. I watched it like so many times, back to back to back, and just cried. And was like, it was right there. You could lean out. You could have your buddy drive you around. You could lean out of the passenger side window and shoot. Dan, you can do so many cool things.
What? Incredible, Dan.
Guys, what you got for me? Daniel, what have you been up to?
Yes. More Helldivers 2 with the lads, and yes, it continues to be a lot of fun. We're continuing to serve democracy. So, yeah. I love blowing up my teammates with strikes.
Dan loves calling in airstrikes and forgetting to say danger close. That's his favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
I'll say now. I would rather that than whatever Harley's doing, which is calling in a nuke on like one enemy.
Right. There'll be one of the
What do you-
charges which are like admittedly annoying, but he'll just waste like, $300,000 of taxpayer money on one single bug.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when we need it, it's like, call it in. Like, oh, I don't have it for 5 minutes. Like, all right, well,
And Dan
what do you-
not realizing for like 10 minutes that Harley had this thing where it was tracking the enemies, the mortar of what you're talking about. I had no idea for 10 minutes, and apparently he said it and I just glossed over it.
hearing you tell that story on last week's show, like I was in the gym just smiling as I was doing my reps. I was just smiling. It was nice. Ro?
Yes, sir. I have a question about Helldivers before I give mine. Or maybe we're going to talk about it later. Perhaps.
Yes.
Okay, I'll save it then. Is like
Okay.
Is performance stuff? Should I wait?
Performance, like how it runs?
Yeah. Look,
Oh,
save it.
Okay. I've been playing more Persona 3 Reload. Not much more to add besides I've been playing more, getting deeper into the story, meeting more characters, and yeah, having a good time. Yeah, not much more to add than what I said the week before last week.
Save Room episode 4 is up. I'm just gonna be plugging those every time it's a Save Room week. And it's a sponsor video. Very cool. I got we got paid to make a video, and I think it came out one of my most exciting ones I got to do, and it didn't feel like I was like doing it for like a partnership, but yeah, very cool. I'm exploring why games use real characters. Nicki Minaj in Call of Duty, Mr. Beast in Fortnite, Lyndon B. Johnson in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Batista in Gears 5.
Is he real?
Yeah. Well,
Is that a real person?
he's a skin. Yeah.
He's a figment of your imagination.
Yeah. And then also more Helldivers too, but we'll get there. Gage?
Helldivers 2, and actually no, and you know what? And the finals. I've been playing a lot of the
that's
finals.
true.
Dan forgot to mention
I
that.
forgot
Dan and I've
that.
been running the finals, and it's still an incredible first-person shooter. It's still really incredible. We had one good night where we were doing. We were playing with so many people. I forget who it was that
I
joined
think
us. but
Guy, right?
no,
Sheldon.
I think it was Sheldon that was there for when we got like 2 tournaments back to back.
Yeah,
And
you're
not
right.
only did we win 2 tournaments back to back, but I'm pretty sure we won like almost all of the actual rounds. And it just feels so good. So shout out to those guys. I mean, the finals is awesome. Still, incredible game. But besides that, serving democracy. Those bugs cannot take free and fair elections from us. No matter
Why do
how
you keep
hard they
saying
try.
the bugs? The automatons are the ones that are fucking,
That's true.
you know?
Yeah, Gage
That's
and
true.
I tried our
If I'm gonna
hand
sell,
at the automatons for 5 minutes.
and we got our asses kicked.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna sell the people at home though to sign up, I'm gonna talk about the bugs. We're not gonna talk about automatons if we need troopers on the ground. They
That
can
is
can
true.
figure that out
Yeah.
later.
Whenever I have to do a difficult mission that's like 7 and beyond, I'm like, I'm going to bugs. Why would I go to the fucking robots? That's
Right.
hell.
Right.
You
It
know?
is.
Do you remember the first time we landed on that planet and we were like in mortar fire, like in perpetuity for
You know
like
what I
the almost
remember?
like
I
half the
remember me
runtime?
hovering over the planets and looking at the Vietnam one and going, "Oh, should we do? Let's do it. What do you mean? Let's do it." And then proceeded by 15 minutes of hell of just Vietnam
Yeah.
in video game form.
Fucking awesome. Anyway, speaking of Helldivers 2, let's go to the topic of the show, which is Helldivers 2. Huge success, not just for Arrowhead Studios, but for Sony's live service game? Question mark. Boys, I'll start today's topic of the show with this. It's on the mast for Arrowhead Studios. A game for everyone. It's a game for no one. Of course, for us on the internet, for us in the gaming spheres of the internet, we've seen countless videos for the past 2 weeks of not just how fun this game is, but how much it's captured that missing spirit that felt like hasn't really been present in gaming for a little. It's been there for games such as Lethal Company, experiences like
Party pummel.
maybe Pummel Party, yeah, but things like Power World for that week, experiences like Party Animals for kind of more on the niche side. I'd throw in the finals there for sure, but wider kind of gaming, it seems like there hasn't really been anything that's encapsulated that spirit for a long time. And here's this small AA game that does it in a way that feels almost effortless. And they are quite literally, suffering from success. You guys talked about server issues last week. Of course, those have still continued, but for whatever reason, despite how all their efforts to expand their servers or get more people in the game, they still suffer from success because more and more people are playing this game despite long queues to get in or not being able to get in at all. Before we get all into kind of the logistics of the actual topic of the show for success on Arrowhead and Sony, I want more sustained thoughts from you guys now with 2 weeks out, because we got to hear from the both of you last week, and I actually really enjoyed hearing you guys talk about it just kind of more casually. Have you guys played more? How many hours do you have in? Can you guess? Level, thoughts on the game now after the fact? How are we feeling? How are you feeling?
I mean, I think I'm around level 8, so I'm still not super deep into it, but I've played like 6 or 7 hours, maybe more since last week with Gage. Maybe not that much. Maybe I just made that up, but yeah, it's still, I'm still having a lot of fun with it. I know some people don't have issue with this, but I am feeling a little bit of fatigue in terms of like, it feels like I drop in, I go do something, and then we extract. Like it is getting a tiny bit repetitive for me in that respect. But also we've only been doing the bug stuff, so it's like I feel like there's a whole other aspect of the game that we haven't even seen yet because of how ridiculously hard the automaton things are right now, which I think that they're looking at toning that down a little bit. So hopefully that should get a little easier.
Can I ask, in that gameplay loop fatigue that you're feeling, are you sticking to the easier levels?
I would defer to Gage because he's always the one who sets up the lobby.
Yeah, the last couple of times I think we were. Well, the problem is that we don't have a full squad. We never seem to have a full squad.
Yeah, that sure.
So that's definitely part of it. Because you're gonna feel fatigue in any game a lot sooner if you're getting your ass kicked constantly. I think that's just kind of the nature of video games, like getting frustrated and wanting to put the controller down. So there's definitely the last few times that Dan and I have been able to play, Christian has just been MIA. He's not wanting to serve democracy whenever we're around. So it just begs the question: does he actually care about democracy? I don't know. That's for the audience to decide. That's not really for me to say here live on air. But
So I have 35 hours in.
Holy
Jesus.
I'm level 22 or 23, something like that. And I have still not even seen all the difficulties. Last time I think I played it, we unlocked level 8, which is the impossible difficulty, and level 9 is hell dive difficulty. So we've only done. I'm gonna say this. I think as a 2-person squad, maybe 4 and 5 is probably where you guys are maybe playing at. Maybe I think you can push yourselves higher to like 6 or 7, because I think Harley and I did those with 2 people, and we got it done just fine. And let me tell you, 6 and 7 is where like I think the game starts to like really, really sing. Like you're getting your shit pushed in, sure, but but none of the like actual mission objectives in each operation is undoable. It all feels like it's just the right balance of like difficulty and challenge and like attainable kind of. It's weird. I think what this game has captured is that kind of like. Do you remember playing The Last of Us for the first time? The original Last of Us, and I don't know what difficulty you guys did it on, but the way I saw a lot of people talk about this game is you enter an encounter in The Last of Us, and by the time you finish that encounter, you feel like you just scraped by. You feel like you had just enough things in your inventory to get you to the end of this encounter, and now the gameplay loop becomes let's find enough stuff to be able to handle the next encounter. That game. This game kind of sits right at that level where it feels like you're just barely able to survive any of these encounters. It's just outside of like what you think is possible for you to functionally manage, and it does that so well. And I think, Dan, if you're feeling a little bit of that fatigue, try bumping it up a level or 2 and seeing how you fare there. It will be fucking hard and you'll die a lot, but I'm telling you, that's where the fucking fun is, man. Especially on the robot side. By the way, there's a mission on the robot side that is actually impossible. Every time it's in one of the
right?
In fucking possible.
I think it's actually bugged. Like I hear what you're saying, but the game is
I think it
designed
is
to be
bugged.
difficult. And
Yes.
it definitely is supposed to be difficult, but that mission is actually bugged because it will just spawn them nonstop. And like that's the mission that Dan. That was one of the last missions that Dan and I played. Yeah, where we were like, all right, I think we maybe played a bug mission after that, but I think that was close to when we were like, all right, we're gonna pause this for a bit because we had it on, I think level 6 or 5, and still just regardless of the difficulty setting, just constantly spawning enemies at you, and we were just treading water the entire mission, barely be able to do anything.
Yeah, because as soon as you get behind and like killing them, there's so many fucking spawning that you can't get ahead. Like you're just swarmed.
And even if they did spawn nonstop, I feel like it'd be manageable if they spawned outside of like the base arena that you're like setting camp in. But they spawn like on top of you.
Right,
like inside, like right outside where the fucking those humans are supposed, or not humans, like civilians are supposed to like run to safety. It's like, all right, what am I supposed to do against these fucking like big ass robots here? I can't.
Right.
Game's a lot of fun, bro. You had a question?
My question from earlier.
Yeah,
it was more so to ask you guys what you're playing on. Is everybody on PlayStation? Is everybody on PC? Because I've heard like there's been some, like you were mentioning, some bugs and some server issues, but the server issues are everywhere. But I've heard that there's been bugs and like quality issues with the game. So I was just wondering if you guys are all on PlayStation and how that's going.
I think I was the only one who was really up in the air about which platform to get it, just because I'm usually a PC guy. I did end up going with PlayStation just out of some concerns for their anti-cheat software, and from what I've heard, PC does seem to have some extra bugs, not haha bugs, but like actual issues. But nothing that's too crazy. The PlayStation side of things, for me, I've only really encountered server issues. Like the game when it's running runs perfectly and it's a polished game, but the issue that everyone's struggling with, regardless of platform, is the server issues.
Which that's fascinating. So I had the same experience, Ro, as Gage on PlayStation. No major issues or anything. But like the server thing is super interesting to me because the night I was playing with Gage, I was fucking on my iPad looking for fucking Twitch streamer that had drops turned on. So I'm just fucking clicking away at all the fucking streams trying to find someone who had the drops turned on. I finally stumble on someone that doesn't have the drops on, but someone that I actually recognized their gamer tag because I had played with them in Halo before. He mainly streams Halo. And I was talking to Gage at the time as well while I was on this dude's stream. And the dude, we were waiting in queue also, by the way, while I was doing this. And Gage is like, oh, just stick it out, Dan. It'll be fine. It'll just be 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. I'm like, Gage, I sent the message 20 minutes ago that I've been waiting in this queue. And he's like, no, it hasn't been that long. He's like, oh, you're right. But then this dude on the stream, he was on the PC side of things, and he had literally just said, I've been waiting in queue for 40 minutes. And I'm like, Gage, if this takes 40 minutes, I don't know if I have the patience to sit here for 40 minutes. And then literally like not even a couple minutes later, mine got in. So like I was like, that's interesting. Like I wonder if like PlayStation has some sort of arrangement to have priority in terms of server allotment than PC players, because I got in before this other person. Yeah, that's on Steam.
I also think it's funny to mention that as you were tapping around to all these different streams trying to find somebody with Twitch drops on, almost everyone streaming Helldivers was waiting to get into Helldivers.
Yeah.
You just went from stream to stream and you were talking to the person there and they're just like, yeah, I'm just sitting here waiting to get in. It's interesting because it just shows, I don't know if it's regions or data centers or whatever, but it did legitimately only take me about 4 or 5 minutes to get in. But some of these streamers that you were waiting on, they were waiting for like an hour, 40 minutes, 30 minutes here. Like, it just seems like it varies by your location where you are. And then also, like you said, maybe possibly platform as well.
Well, for me, in my 30 plus hours of playing, I got one bug, where I some kind of stratagem I called in. An explosion was like too massive, and it like killed my frame rate. So we're like, I was basically functionally unable to play the rest of that mission. My team had to carry on without me because it was so fucked. It was like 2 frames a second, and I just killed the application and went back in, and it was fine. It's the only problem I had. Server side though, I've been running the trick where if I'm going to play Helldivers, on the tile there's like that thing that says like play with friends, and I click on that and it jumps your place in the queue, so I pretty much get in instantly every time. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about leaving the game and sleep, you bastard. But no,
I'm not an asshole. I'm not an asshole.
I had a feeling. See, Dan, I had a hunch that might work, but we didn't think to actually do that. Yeah. But yeah, I've heard that since you and I have last played, Dan. That if I'm already in the match, and if you go through what Christian said, that you can just kind of jump the queue and come right to my ship.
Here's the thing about this game. Discord aside, Discord is like the only place I've seen be toxic. Despite now 2 weeks of frustrations with people not able to get into the game, it still feels like online reception has been pretty healthy, of people being like, take your time, you were not anticipating this level of success. Right. And it's kind of cool to see people online be like, work your stuff out. It's weird though, because like we did pay $40 for this game. Like, people do want to play it. And those people who are frustrated, maybe justifiably so, but like they cannot handle this level of success. And let me break that down, because you guys touched on it a little bit. I have some figures because this week has been crazy. On February 17th, last Thursday, the game broke over 300,000 on Steam and over 400,000 on PS5. The next day, Helldivers beat GTA 5's all-time peak on Steam. For references, Halo Infinite was at 272,000 concurrent. Starfield was at 330,000. Destiny 2, 331,000. Monster Hunter World was at 334,000. Hitman 2, 361,000.
That's wild.
GTA 5 all time, 364,548. Helldivers was at 366,263. And it didn't stop there, because today, February 21st, Helldivers was at 457,649,000. Now sitting at number 20 on Steam's all-time peak charts. insane. And I wrote down here though, can you guys guess what any of the top 10 are?
Minecraft.
Just for fun.
Oh, Minecraft's not on Steam, is it? Never mind.
No.
I know Counter-Strike's up there. I don't know how they did it with if it's Counter-Strike 2 now or if it's Counter-Strike 1, but just the Counter-Strike that everybody plays. Yeah.
Yes, that's number
That's up there.
3.
League of Legends, is that on there?
No, I don't think so.
No.
As in, it's not available on the platform. Not that it's not in the top 10. Like, it probably would be in the top 10, but I don't think it's on Steam.
Oh, you're right.
Some new releases from last year are on the top 10 all-time list.
Call of Duty?
No.
No. They passed it a while ago.
The fuck came out last year? I forgot everything.
Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Ro. That's number 10.
Congrats to them again, man. They fucking deserve it.
There's a big giant battle royale.
Oh,
Yeah.
PUBG.
That's number 1. 3 million all-time peak.
Concurrent.
Yes.
Concurrent all-time peak.
Damn.
Can you guess what number 2 is? Because Counter-Strike is number 3. PUBG is number 1. And it came out last month.
Last month. The fuck came out?
Little
Power World?
indie Power World is at number 2 with 2 million concurrent players.
Wow.
All-time peak.
Holy crap. Wild.
Anyway, Helldivers 2. Continued success. Server side patches have been almost nonstop, at least like once every other day. They can't keep up. However, the AFK trick that Gage was mentioning, if you aren't familiar, there were players who, to avoid the queue for getting back into the game, would just not get off the game. They would keep their system online. They would be just standing on their ship, which is pretty anti-democracy, if you ask me.
It is very anti-democracy.
Yeah, that somebody else could be playing and helping liberate these planets. To which the CEO of Arrowhead said a patch is coming to kick players after 10 minutes or so for players who are AFK. That is happening, which I think is good. And that will help server kind of issues on that front and get more people who are actually wanting to play the game, play the game. In response to their success, Arrowhead CEO has talked about hiring new people. There are plans to like they pretty much fast tracked everything they wanted to do for their content roadmap by getting more people into the team. Like they have like a page now on their website where more you can submit resumes and such. Like they have lofty ambitions, and then they now like I think there was a mention somewhere like everything we wanted to do and we're like going crazier because of like we want this game to be like an actual kind of live service, like lived in kind of experience that the community can do cool shit in. But he also said we don't want to overhire people because that would be horrible response to the success. Saying the act of overhiring to then just do layoffs is a horrible practice and a bad experience for employees, which I think is kind of a nice thing to say, especially as a CEO in the current landscape of things. And then, of course, in response to people, to someone online who was like, I want to spend or I want to buy Helldivers 2, but I don't have the money for it right now. And, I would suck to buy it and be stuck in queues. The CEO said, just don't get it now. If you don't have the money for it, just get it later.
That's crazy.
Let us fix our stuff, our servers first, and then down the line you can pick it up.
Very in tune, very in touch with not only just consumers but the gaming industry in general with his comments about not doing mass hiring and then having to layoffs later. Yeah, this guy, it's similar to everything I said about Baldur's Gate and the studio over there and the CEO of that team or that studio or lead of that studio. I don't know if he's officially CEO, but anyways, just very like pro consumer, pro quality sort of mentality from these guys, and you don't see that a lot in big studios anymore because of just how blurred the lines are between art and business nowadays. But these small studios still can afford to have this mindset, I guess, and obviously it pays off because obviously that type of thinking went into the design of their game and the philosophy of how they're going to make this game, and lo and behold, We were just talking about the numbers that this game's doing, and it's absolutely insane. I think people recognize it, whether
Mm.
they can identify it or not. People recognize care and craft, and this game certainly has it. And it's cool to see that this, even outside of the realm of the game, when it comes to people wanting to buy it or people wanting to play it, they still have that same kind of care.
I have two closing questions for the gang. First one's aimed at Gage. It's just speculation here. Do you think Helldivers 2's success could lead to future titles from PlayStation launching day and date with PC?
My answer is it should. I don't know. It's so hard to tell because we're in the middle of a transition period for Sony where Jim Ryan's out in T-minus 1 month and somebody else is in. So, exactly, yep. So, we're in a very weird period. The next person that replaces him could be way more forward thinking and way more in tune with gaming. The next person that replaces him could be Jim Ryan, but worse. We have no idea. This
Facts.
should lead to it because as I've said, I'm pretty sure I talked about this last week, but
Yeah.
I don't think that you are going to cannibalize your console with PC release. I think it's a different audience for the most part. Obviously, there's going to be some people like me that are super invested in gaming and have a really good PC and also the newest consoles, but I don't even think the majority of PC gamers. So it's nothing but positives to me, and I think that Sony would be stupid to interpret this success in any other way than yes, we should absolutely do more day and date releases. I think even with their single player games too. Like I don't think just their live service. I think this should be a nudge in the right direction
Sure.
for any type of game. But yeah, it should. It absolutely should, and I hope it does.
Yeah, we talked about last week Sony's president making those comments on multi-platform games, and seemingly maybe they're gonna start doing.
It's hard to
that on
tell what
PC.
the politicians speak.
That's
Yeah,
true.
because they're always so vague and yeah, we'll look at this and it definitely seems like X, Y. Like, all right, just are you doing it or you're not doing it? Shit or get off the pot, guy. Come on.
I bring this up also because there's an article news that I think this was with the Sony president as well. I'm failing to find who they were speaking to. Sorry, was the company's financial results? I'm not seeing a name here.
It was the president Hiroki Totoki. I think this is what
Tsutoki? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of what we talked about last week.
Thank you.
Yep.
I don't think you touched on this though. They had a discussion regarding first-party software, and he said this: that they're aiming to continue to focus on producing high-quality productions and producing live service games. But while major projects are currently under development, they're not planning on releasing any new major existing franchise titles next fiscal year, like your God of War Ragnaroks or your Marvel Spider-Man 2. This does a lot of speculation that it's going to be not just a slow year for Sony, but maybe even a bad year for Sony. Bad year for us who are those who are primarily playing on PlayStation hardware. If there isn't big titles to kind of keep us on the string, along with incentivize us to be using our consoles, why do we even buy these boxes? I think that's maybe just like accidentally bad language. Kind of sucks, but like there is speculation that a new Astrobot game is coming. Kind of sucks to see that game relegated to not a major franchise title. I guess like I tweeted how Astrobot Rescue Mission is one of the only game to utilize the DualSense in a way that actually it sells me on the use of that fucking controller. But of course, there's new IP coming as well that he couldn't talk about because the games haven't been revealed yet. I will say this though, in conjunction with Helldivers, I think claims that this year might be a slow or a bad year, I think are probably quelled with the amount of success this game has had. I think this game really does have the legs for maybe even months from now to still, maybe not obviously do numbers like this, but still be existing in relatively to compete with the likes of your Call of Duties, your Destinies back in the heyday of actually having a sustained player base. Because there is a lot of room for factions to be introduced down the line. I think 4 different enemy types is what is being aimed at, and there's a lot of content updates in terms of things that they're going to add with stratagem weapons and even vehicles that have been teased. You will be getting into mechs There was mechs in the first game. They've teased that mechs are coming in the second game. Like, I think this game will have the legs for a while on the game side. But there's already been talks about, like, if this game is as highly regarded as it is, could make appearances in, like, Game of the Year's nomination categories, like Best Multiplayer Game or you know, even more. Best Music, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a good year for me.
I think this, if I had to give what my feeling is, I think we will see a drop in numbers, but this game, I think, has the potential to, when it has its first big expansion, when it has its first big sort of content drop, that it'll kind of be one of those games where everybody's waiting to get back to, as opposed to a game that dies off permanently, where people are like, oh, I've had my fun with this, I'm done. So I do think, because I do understand what Dan's saying, like, I think they haven't tapped into the genre, the specific genre they've chose. They haven't tapped into that to the fullest extent that they can. I think when I think of playing this game, like, off the top of my head, I think a great way to even just begin to toy with the extraction genre more is to have maybe variants of the stratagems, weapons that you can call in, maybe different variants that are only found in the map, that if you extract with them, you can start your next mission with them. Because it is like you said, we discussed a few weeks ago, it is absolutely an extraction game, but it doesn't really, I don't think, take full advantage of that genre by just because you're doing these extraction missions, and some of them are very long, and some of them can be trying, and for some people the progression track is maybe a bit too slow, or it's not quite worth it. So I think if they had some elements of that where it's like, hey, you can find an autocannon that does incendiary damage, and you can only find it in the map. So there's a reason to try and stay alive and extract with that gun so that you can start the next mission with it. If they do simple things like that, along with new factions and new mission types, then I think it'll help keep the player base entertained, because I can totally see where people like Dan are coming from, where it's like, okay, I've gotten the core gameplay loop. I think a lot of the fun comes from playing with friends. Like, that's not something that you can sort of just have a formula for, right? That's just going to be fun and entertaining and fresh every time. But the core gameplay loop does need some spice, and I think that because the bones of this game are so great and so well made, that all they need is just to dress up the outside a little bit, and it'll bring people back, even if there is a drop off in terms of players.
Dan or Ro, closing thoughts? Helldivers 2.
As someone who hasn't played it yet, I'm very excited to play it when I get the chance to pick it up. And now I know definitely a PlayStation game to get. And after everybody's comments on performance and stuff. But yeah, as a fan of the original, as most of us were.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm glad that this is doing so well right now. So I agree with Gage, what he said about, I think it'll have a lot of legs, and that excites me a lot. Again, as a fan of the original, how much an improvement this game seems to be, and yeah, how much they cared. So I'm very excited to play it with you guys when I pick it up.
By the way, I just want to mention, like, I can't really remember the last time a shooter felt like this good. Like, I like how difficult it is to aim some of these guns. Do you know what I mean?
I think the way that they've handled recoil is really, really great. And I was concerned about buying it on PlayStation because I'm really not good at, I've really unlearned how to play well on controller just from switching to PC. It's totally a thing that can absolutely happen. I'm definitely not making it up, I promise. Because some people give me shit and think that I'm faking it. I'm not. But with the way that this game handles recoil, in that you kind of have this, you have your center crosshair, which is the center of your screen, and it's always center. But then when you're shooting on sustained fire, you have this kind of little halo reticle that jumps around the screen, and so you kind of have to aim. What do you mean? This is how the game works.
No, yes, Halo.
Oh, Halo. I was like, please tell me I'm not a mad psychosis at this little dot on the screen. Yeah, the way that it feels in the controller is fantastic. So shooting in a third-person game can often feel really kind of hit or miss, but this game does it really, really well. And yeah, it feels good to play. It feels incredible.
We got people in the chat. Kirik says he's faking. Glenn says, Gage, we don't think you're making it up. Just thought you were garbage to begin with.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, Glenn, that is good. Fuck you.
Yeah, but I echo everything you guys were saying, and what Gage was saying about the content. I think that's the most exciting thing for me, and I will continue to be excited to jump on and play this with you guys, because that is the main draw for me, is playing with friends, and that's the most fun. And if they keep engaging me with the game in terms of other content and keep adding new stuff, that's just a bonus. So very cool.
Thank you, Arrowhead Studios, for delivering a phenomenal game in Helldivers 2. And thank you for watching this podcast, joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your pods. Until then, till next time, till next week, thank you, Roshan. Thank you, me. Thank you, Gage. That's Daniel. This has been Podcast PXN. And we're going to go drink a nice tall glass of liver tea.
Much love and keep on gaming.
For democracy.
Keep on Genki.
See ya.